Saints to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in. What a comeback.
All right, welcome to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. Today we're going to talk about the Saints 2024 season preview. So we'll go through position by position. We're going to kind of give our take on what we think about the position, how we feel about it, and then after that we'll get into some record predictions, and then maybe some hot takes.
There's no maybe about it. This is our, for those of us who have listened to us, this is our, the season preview is kind of where we lay it all on the line. You know, last year we were a lot more optimistic than we will likely be this year.
Good chance.
So, and then we end it with our fearless predictions.
Third leading tackler for the Saints this year, Corey.
I might have a third.
Going to unleash one on us.
So last year, my bold hot take, which I thought was hot at the time, was that Marcus May would be third in tackles.
I'm still upset about that.
So last year it was pretty evident that I had overthought the hot take, tried to go way too crazy with it, and it was anything but. So this year I have not really put much prep into it. I just kind of wrote down what came to the top of my head, and but there might be we usually do three each, go around the horn, three hot.
I've only got one
each.
this year. I got one I feel pretty good about.
So I have three, but I might have a fourth bonus just to keep in the tradition of somebody being third at something. But it's a good one. It's not as bad as May.
I mean, it can't be any worse, if we're being honest. But
right.
With that, let's go ahead and dive into the position groups. I think it's let's start off with quarterback. I think that's a logical one to start off with. Corey, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel? Are you upset about Dennis Allen not naming an official number 2 quarterback yet?
Is this the part where I say hashtag the agenda?
This is the part where you audition for the Saints Block Party podcast.
Oh, no. Adam and Ryan know how I feel about it. Shout out. But no.
How do you feel about it? Why don't you put
Tell
it
us
out
how
there?
you feel.
Tell the truth.
Derek Carr is the starter, okay? And he should not be supplanted by either Rattler or Haener this year. If he is supplanted by either of them, from a theoretical standpoint, and then especially considering how Dennis Allen actually operates his team personnel-wise, it would be a huge indicator, or the evidence on the field would have to be so bad from Derek Carr that we've gone from just maybe not liking the guy, from how he doesn't say my bad after a mistake, or we don't like the way he talks in press conferences. It's going to go from that to like, holy shit, we've never seen a Saints quarterback play any worse than that.
But let's say,
to get Dennis Allen to say, all right, now it's time for Spencer Rattler.
He's got this loyal following already, obviously.
You're talking about Rattler?
Yes, Rattler.
Yeah.
He's not talking about Carr.
If you are correct,
point.
not here anyway.
Yeah.
But if you are an advocate for him, do you want him really playing this year behind that line?
Right.
When he's not ready. I mean, if you're being honest, he's not ready yet, right? You saw a lot you like. You saw some throws that are NFL caliber, top tier arm talent throws. We saw multiple of those. It was a very mixed bag if you're going to break it down play by play. If you want Rattler to be successful, why do you want him in this year? I don't understand. I just don't understand. Now, maybe end of the season, the line kind of, it's a little more cohesive. You don't have to worry about him dying back there, and we're struggling. Absolutely. Put him in there last 4 or 5 games. Let him get some reps. But I don't understand wanting at all him in there early to destroy his confidence. All you can do is hurt him. So
yeah, I'm on the put him on the Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love game plan.
Yeah.
Where they sat a year, and obviously it was very beneficial for both of them. Mahomes came in year 2 and just tore up the NFL.
Well, 3 for Love. I mean,
right. But Mahomes in year 2, Love in year 3, because Rodgers was still there and was a viable starter.
Go back to the Aaron Rodgers plan when they had Brett Favre.
How many? He sat for what, 2 years?
Like at least.
At least
3.
It might have been 3.
I think he was 3 also.
It was kind of the forever. Like it would have been. As
he was an apprentice forever.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like for me, that makes the most sense. I want Spencer Rattler, or if it's Jake Haener, doesn't matter to me, just one of them. I want to see whoever it is succeed.
Yeah.
And to me, it makes the most sense. Like you hear New England right now, they're going to sit Drake May for the time being because they want him to develop properly. And Drake May, I guess a higher, more highly touted coming out than Rattler was, obviously.
Way higher. He's a
way
much higher pick.
But to me, it's the most logical decision is leave them on the bench, let them get acclimated to the offense, acclimated to the city, acclimated to the team, and then in 2025, unleash them, let them battle it out, make it an open competition if Carr's still on the team. Like my ideal is Carr's release Carr in 2025. You can get rid of him at that point. It's not as catastrophic.
After 25 or before 25?
To me, it needs to be opened up for a full-on competition.
Well, that's fine.
In
But
2025.
I mean, as far as releasing Carr, the money doesn't allow you to release him before the season.
They
really,
can release him.
You're going to eat a good chunk
Yeah,
because
but
of the restructure.
They could release him.
But what's the chunk?
I think it was getting rid of him this year is in the 60 million,
Right.
and then next year it's a chunk. But
It's big.
It's a
It's
chunk,
in the
but you can
20s.
still do
It's
it.
in the
It's like
25.
25.
25.
It's a deliberate decision to move on. If you're going to eat it. If
But
you're,
why? Just eat it and put him on the bench
Well,
and keep the
I
vet
think-
in here to bring
to bring it back to why would you want? Let's just we can say Haener or Rattler all day. The attention is not on the Rattler option. I mean, the attention is not on the Haener option. The attention is on the Rattler option.
Correct.
So if your option is Carr, the guy you brought in last year to have a year under his belt, a full off season, especially a full off season with a new offensive coordinator, to be your QB1 as planned, or to have Rattler come in this year and be the starter, your option there should be Carr this year. The next year question, whether or
as
not
long
you
as you're
eat-
competitive.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I think for us it's competitive. For the Saints and the way Dennis and Mickey operate, I think they're going to keep Carr in there unless they are laughable. I mean, like we're laughable.
Well, that's what I
by-
mean. But you don't think week 13?
We thought last year was laughable by our standards. I
It
think
wasn't.
It
It
wasn't,
wasn't.
though.
No,
It
I do
wasn't.
not think that at
It
all.
wasn't.
It was not. It's a winning record, tied for the division lead. It was ugly at times. It was up and down for sure. Inconsistent
Put
as
it this
hell.
way, by the people who are stuck on
By
the
Drew Brees standards,
Sean Payton,
yes.
Drew Brees standards last year was laughable because the perspective is not yet set in for people that ain't coming
But
back.
it wasn't laughable under any real metric.
You were literally a tiebreaker from the playoffs. And
But the laughable. Okay, that's not my point. The point is, they're not going to get rid of. They're not going to pull Carr for Rattler unless it is like the worst offense
Correct.
you've ever seen.
I agree with that.
So then you go to what I think all the hype this year. Hashtag the agenda. All that stuff. I get why it's popular. I think I'm going to say it. Shout out to our guys, friends of the pod, for getting picked up in their tweets and their content by people like me
And
and Kime,
I think it's
by
great for
NFL
social media.
Network.
That's great.
I love that.
Fantastic.
But that conversation is best had for next year.
Yes.
Okay. So like
maybe
if-
not even next year.
and
So let's
maybe
just
not next
relax.
year, but at a minimum next year, right?
At a
So
minimum next
I don't
year,
think
yeah.
there's a reality in which if you're a Saints fan and you want to see your team win, because the hashtag the agenda has brought out a lot of negativity.
Yes.
And so you see other accounts saying, I'm done with the negativity. I just want to see our team win. I just want to have fun as a fan. Yada yada yada. You can't have that unless you have the guy who's supposed to be the starter do well this year. If you're a true poverty franchise, people have accused us of that. We are not.
Not even
But
close
if you're
yet.
a true bottom dweller and you throw Rattler in from week 1, then you will have a terrible year. You will not have fun. You will not have wins just because he's a rookie. It's not because he's not good.
The biggest problem with
But-
this whole thing, if you're looking at it as a non-fun, obviously the stuff that happens on social
but
media every year is
next
crazy.
year is when
But-
you want that conversation to happen.
Maybe,
At,
we'll see.
to Corey's point, at the earliest.
Yeah.
But the problem with it is the assumption that quarterback is our only problem. Okay.
Well-
the offense as a whole
That's a
is
good
a
point.
mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess right now. This is not a Carr for Rattler, and all of a sudden we're good situation.
Right.
Even if he is the guy down the road, this is a bad offensive line. It's an average team on the skill positions across the board.
It's a below average.
Yeah, at best average, right?
Yeah.
You've got one guy. We hope he makes a step this year that might be able to be a difference maker. We've got a really fun second receiver that you really hope takes another step too. You've got an aging running back room and a young guy who just won't get on the field. It's Taysom's 34. It's really a rough situation on offense right now. And to make this the narrative of the offseason, that if we could only get rid of Carr, it just seems like a very small part of the picture.
I do think
to
that
me.
might be one misunderstood angle of the agenda people, is that they just want to see Rattler play. They're just overhyped about Rattler. I don't think they think that that's.
I think it's more about
I think
just want to see Carr not play.
Well, it's both, yeah, for sure. I mean, like it is.
I think you could almost substitute
There's a
Rattler for
certain-
Haener. If Rattler wasn't here, it would be the agenda for Haener.
I don't think it would.
It
be,
was
though.
last
I
year
don't-
a little bit.
but I don't think it would
Not-
be.
but
I don't think it
Carr
would be as
hadn't
strong.
started yet, right.
I think and we all.
Yeah, last year we were still like, okay, Carr might
But
be.
they loved Haener in the offseason. I mean, in the preseason.
Yeah.
Let's not.
I truly don't think it would be an agenda for Haener if Rattler did not exist, because
Let's do this real quick.
We all agree. We love the talent out of Rattler.
Well,
you said it, Max.
I
like,
love it.
he's
I
got-
look.
What
I-
I love is
Might have the
where
best-
we picked him,
the best
and
arm
you saw
talent.
some things.
So,
I'm
but-
not saying he's a starter in the NFL yet. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
I'm not
that.
there yet.
I think it's everything that comes with Rattler. It's his whole story. It's the physical traits. It's just there would be no agenda for Haener. I'm telling you right now.
Well, that's beside the point.
So
That
I'm
doesn't
saying
matter.
it's a mix.
But let's just
of
look at it real quick
the
from
whole-
a different perspective.
But the whole fan base doesn't like Carr.
Where do
And-
you stand on Rattler being like? What did you see in preseason? Where do you stand on him playing very soon? Based on strictly on what you saw. Let's forget Carr exists. Let's forget if you were just being honest about what you saw in the preseason games. How close do you feel Rattler is to being a starter in the NFL?
A season.
Really, you think next season?
At least,
Okay.
or like half a season. I mean, but I think it's really he needs more time, because let's also not forget that every snap Rattler took in the preseason was not against a number one defense.
Correct.
Okay,
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
So we don't know how he's going to fare against a starting caliber NFL defense.
There was
know
one
he
pass-
has the talent to make the throws.
Yes,
we
no
know
doubt.
that if at times, and maybe I'll even give him benefit of the doubt, because again, I am a fan of Spencer Rattler. I love that
You
we
worried
have-
when we drafted him.
I know. I quickly changed my tune on that, because I didn't like him as
yeah.
South Carolina was a rival of my dogs, so I didn't like. I was in he's a South Carolina guy. I don't like South Carolina.
I'm just telling. I got one
I was-
throw
but
in
to,
particular.
but to the point of him going up against an NFL starting caliber defense, when he went up against my Georgia Bulldogs, it was not pretty for him. He had some flashes, he had some
No.
good plays, but overall, a team of future NFL first round draft picks.
But he doesn't have
struggled.
the same future NFL players on his team either. So, that maybe you give him a little bit more
No,
of
that's
a
what I'm
pass
saying.
there.
You give him a little bit of cred, but it's like, I think just give him, and it's not like he's going up in practice against a bad he's going up against a very good defense in practice, even if he's going up against the twos. So it's like,
Yeah, I just think it's a huge leap to think he's
Give him more
close to
time.
ready. There's one pass. This is just kind of one little piece of it that he was given a ton of credit going through the socials. It was the deep ball to A.T. Perry.
Mm-hmm.
If Carr throws that exact ball on Twitter, that's an underthrow. What is Carr doing? That's a touchdown.
no, I saw that.
Rattler threw it. He's down at the 5 because it was underthrown. It was
was
the
great.
right read. It was great, but it was an underthrown ball and a good completion. But if
Right.
Carr throws that same throw, it's what the hell's wrong with him.
Right.
Rattler throws it. What a throw.
Well, there was criticism even in some of the training camp videos from Irvine where Olave was given a ball and he may not have even been up against the defender, and Carr put it a little bit short of the goal line, and Olave had to come back for it, stumbled, and people were saying, well, I mean, I even said it. I said if he puts that ball in the halfway through the end zone, he catches it in his stride.
But we weren't doing that with Rattler.
Here's the reality. There is
I
nothing.
thought it, but I didn't feel compelled to put it out there on
Right.
social media.
Here's the reality. There is nothing that Derek Carr can or will do this season that is not going to be picked apart under a microscope, and it's going to be like it might be a perfect pass that the receiver catches, but if he might get tackled on the 1, and people are going to say, you know what, if he would have let him 2 more inches, that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah. And
Whereas other players like Rattler are going to get the benefit of the doubt, and they're going to say that was a perfect pass.
We were saying he got Michael Thomas hurt when he underthrew a ball by 2 feet.
Right. And if you look at, I think it was Jacobson, the tight end. It was one of the tight ends. I think it was Jacobson. And Rattler, I mean, it was a hospital ball.
Yeah.
It was the same ball that people would have called a hospital pass from Carr.
There's
And you don't hear that because right now it's the golden child that everybody wants to.
I will say this: if I'm defending, again, if I say I'm defending the agenda, I'm not defending putting him in right now. But one other, just like we have to take into account with Rattler that he was going up against backups, everything we saw again, that we're using as a play in favor of his argument was against a second, third string defense, second string maximums, and so the thing we also have to take into account with Carr, just like we take that into account for Rattler, is that Carr's a 10, 11-year NFL veteran, right? So there are certain things that if a rookie's throwing a hospital ball, you assume that he's going to understand the importance of being an NFL caliber accuracy quarterback versus a 10, 11-year veteran who's still throwing hospital balls. I'm not saying that means that Rattler should play over Carr, but when people are
But I think even in that statement, Corey, you're really
you
being that. I mean, that's speaking in hyperbole to me.
You
Like
gotta-
that car
no.
is throwing hospital balls all over the field.
Absolutely.
We were picking out 1 and 2 of these passes last year to kill him.
I don't think Carr and the hospital ball thing. It's not about
It's
his
stupid.
It's
It's
not
not-
about his accuracy. He's capable of being more accurate than that. My whole thing about Carr
Second in the league.
is his ability to get on the same page as his receivers with timing of his throws. Is he
Yeah, but the receivers also come into play there.
right?
Like it's not all on Carr.
Are Carr and the receivers both equally putting in extra
Okay.
time after
Here's the
practice
problem.
Just for Corey, I want to rephrase this
get
one
on,
way.
to get on the same page.
This season goes to absolute shit. We're 2-15.
Yeah.
We got the number 1 pick. You're not taking a quarterback.
I like that question. That's good.
That's a
What
good,
would you do?
That's a good question.
With your beloved Carson Beck sitting there, possibly at number 1.
So just to judge your confidence level in what you've seen so far.
That's great. So if we have the first pick in the draft, and let's say we haven't seen Rattler
Daniel.
more than like 1 or 2 games,
I wasn't ready for this one.
Carson Beck is on the board. He's the consensus number 1 pick, hypothetically. What are you doing?
Well, it's either Carson Beck or another one of my dogs, Michael Williams, or somebody
no.
similar.
You're deflecting. What would you do?
No, I'm not deflecting. It's a reality. Because if I don't choose Carson, I'm taking
Get to the
the
question.
next guy.
Yeah, you can
Well,
pick
he's not
any.
the next guy anyway, so keep going.
Let's just you have the whole college
I don't-
football at your disposal with
I
the 1
think
pick. So just
The bigger question is, are
I
you
think-
taking the consensus number 1 pick? Because right now he would be probably the consensus top quarterback as of right now. At this point, if you're faced with that situation, what are you doing?
Right now, off the top of my head, I think Rattler gives us enough to go for the next best talented guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you could have a franchise changer on the defense or
But
an
we don't even.
offensive-
Time out.
offensive tackle.
Okay, so Corey, obviously, for everyone watching, listening, Corey is a huge Georgia
Yeah.
Bulldogs fan, graduated from there, all that. But you are speculating big time that Michael Williams is the slam dunk number
Or-
2 prospect in the draft.
Are the top 3 prospects, because you got to go with a window, are the top 3 prospects going to be quarterbacks?
Well, let's throw out let's just say Carson Beck's
like-
number 1. But let's say like Travis Hunter. Let's throw out Will Campbell.
So, I mean, like,
Shador Sanders.
Shador Sanders.
but if the choice is...
The question is, are you confident enough in Rattler that you're passing up the consensus number 1, whoever it may be?
Let's
out
put
of
it
those
this
guys?
way. As the season progresses in college football, there will be a consensus number 1 pick. It will be a quarterback.
Right.
It's every year.
Yeah.
So that guy sitting there, you're not going to the podium and taking that guy for Rattler.
Given that the Saints have not had the first pick in forever and have not been in a situation to take the consensus.
Let me
top
remind
guy.
you what the Bears just did to one of your Bulldogs.
Right, but I mean, but I don't think that any quarterback coming out this year is going to be as good or as versatile as Caleb Williams.
That might be a fair statement.
That is a fair statement,
So-
But Justin Fields had 30-something starts under his belt where Rattler has 0.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, as a comparison, too. Like, you're not replacing even
Well-
Justin Fields. You're replacing a guy who's never played.
I don't know. I don't really.
As
I don't
far as
think I see
drafting
how
a quarterback one.
Justin Fields comes into this.
At risk of going 45
They had
minutes
a
on the
starter.
quarterback topic, just answer the question.
We're getting
Are
pretty
you
close.
taking Rattler, or are you staying with Rattler, or are you taking one of the other top consensus guys?
I'm
You're
taking-
comfortable enough in Rattler that you're saying, you know what, I'm confident
Or-
he's the next guy.
I'm comfortable in this next year with Rattler or the Carr versus Rattler competition.
Over
That's the
using
question.
the one pick.
Over using the one on the top guy.
My point on Chicago, real
because
quick.
if you here you go. If you don't use the one pick on the quarterback, and we've done a pod on how much of a crapshoot that can be. Even
No,
if
we
you-
talked about trading up.
but trading.
We said it was different if you organically had the first
well,
pick.
And
but-
also, I will say you
but
have
the
nothing without
but
a quarterback.
The hit rate on number ones, right? But I think I don't
No, Nick, the whole point of that pod was the trade up is risky and usually a mistake.
But historically, the hit rate, pod regardless, we talked about it. But part of what factors into that pod is the hit rate on number one or top 5 quarterback picks. So the thing is,
that
when
hit
you-
rate is much higher.
I'm going to quote the man who hates trade ups more than anybody,
Yeah.
the gentleman to my right, who had said, he's gone on record saying that if you organically have the first pick in the draft,
Yeah,
it's fine taking the quarterback there. Where he gets upset is when you trade up
Sure.
and it's multiple picks to go
Right.
get him.
I will say the teams that typically
We're
draft,
spending way too much time on
I know.
this.
You asked me for an answer.
It's been a
but
huge
but
topic.
I
Let's
need-
talk
I need,
about it.
like-
It's fine.
It's the number one pick in the draft. The answer's not that simple. You know, you have.
No, what
Rattler,
we're asking you is
have
if
Carr,
hypothetically
you're not a quarterback
listen,
desolate
if
team.
Beck is
You're overthinking it. I'm
You're
asking an
overthinking it.
easy question.
it's an easy question.
There's a definitive number one. Everyone agrees quarterback.
Hypothetically-
Maybe he's not Caleb Williams, but everyone agrees he's the best
I
quarterback
think
in
you
the
have
draft.
enough in the room at your quarterback room with
You're
the Saints
passing.
now
You're
So
going
you're passing.
left tackle or
to take an impact non-quarterback.
Wow. Okay, no, that's your answer.
You don't
That's
want,
fine.
you,
That's
you-
fine.
I'm
That's fair.
sorry, you don't want
No,
an
that's
offensive
fine.
tackle to be your 12-year starter at offensive tackle.
That's fair.
You don't want
Okay.
a
No, that's fair.
game-changing
Look.
defensive end.
So
I
you-
think
like-
that says where you stand on Rattler. I think
mean,
that's
yeah.
all I was trying to get
Yeah.
to. I'm not even going to tell you you're wrong. I don't
You're
know.
asking me for draft strategy based on what we have in the QB room.
That's quite
Correct.
the optimistic take.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take the guy who number one overall
I am too.
Fine, go for it.
because
Go ahead.
that success rate is like 40, 50%.
And so, what do you think? You're just going to dispose of Rattler?
No.
trade
No,
him?
you let him fight it out.
Hey, what if it turns into Cousins RG3? I'm
Yeah.
good with that too.
Yeah.
That works out great for us, right? If
Yeah,
Rattler,
I think
I'm-
I think you've been reading a little too much the agenda.
No, it's not
and-
even about. It's,
dude,
it's
that's.
thinking about it realistically.
Oh, I just don't know how
Because
you
you're
could have possibly
comparing-
seen enough out of Rattler in the 3 preseason games he has played to definitively pass in this hypothetical situation on a prospect who is unanimously the top guy and it's a quarterback. Look, and that's your
fine.
decision. That's fine.
Y'all, I don't think y'all are thinking enough about how much of an impact the non-quarterback
I do.
number
I-
one
We're
would
going
have.
off of what we've seen so far.
That's fine.
Wow. Okay, no, we got to mark that one down.
I'm
That's
just
awesome.
gonna tell you-
mark it down. Mark it down.
how many off the top of your head non-QB number one overall picks have transformed a team?
I mean, I don't have that answer.
Not
off
that
the top
many.
Of my head.
I don't know if
mean,
you can name one.
You really can't. It's
In
really
the,
not that
I'm,
many.
I'm saying recent history. I'm not saying
was Joe Thomas a number one.
they lost
No,
every year
was
he
number-
played.
He was number,
They lost every year he played.
He was number 2.
I
mean, he's as
Fisher
good-
was one.
Fisher was one who was a bust, but let's not use him.
Yeah.
Let's just use Joe Thomas as an example. He was as good as you can draft.
Teams that
Mario Williams was as good as
They
he could
did
draft
nothing.
there, and he. Yeah.
He's won-
typically teams
did
that
nothing.
take a QB number one overall are just devoid of any legitimate option at quarterback. You know, like, would you say we have no legitimate
Devoid.
option?
Well, the
at
Bears
quarterback?
were not devoid. That was the point of what I was trying
That's
to
his,
say.
that's his whole point.
They had Justin Fields, who I'm not
Yeah.
one of these people. Let me
I think,
be clear.
I think Fields and Rattler are totally different players. I mean,
They are.
But all I'm
Absolutely,
saying is
but-
there was a contingent in the NFL who felt he was a
and
starter.
the Bears didn't also have a Carr as a second option because we don't know what Carr's going to do this year. If he actually performs well in a Kubiak offense, then to say
If they have the one pick, Carr's gone.
Yeah.
I can tell you. I know what they're going to do. They're going to march up and draft a quarterback immediately. I'm just asking
Yeah.
how
As
you
they
feel
should,
about
honestly.
it. And that's fine. If you feel that strongly about Rattler, I think it says how you view him, which is
I'm
okay.
I'm looking at the margin between what we know out of Rattler versus what we know.
But we don't know anything out of
you know,
Rattler yet.
but just like
His
we don't-
second game wasn't good.
Just
His
like we
first
don't-
game was a really good pass.
we know less.
The third game, he looked great.
We know less out of whoever the number one pick is going to be out of college because they haven't played against.
Okay.
them.
No.
You know.
Look, again, we've spent way too much time on this topic, but
y'all asked the
Corey's.
question. Y'all asked the question.
No, it's a great question. And look,
It really is a great question.
I'm not saying you can't miss.
That's why I looked at y'all when y'all asked it. I'm like, all right, here we go.
I'm in full agreement with you. You can miss. I just think
You can absolutely miss, but
Yeah.
I don't think you pass on that opportunity.
unless
It's-
Reggie
You
White's
don't-
standing
you-
there,
you
I'm
definitely-
not.
Look, you definitely don't pass on a consensus like once in a generation quarterback.
it doesn't have to be once in a generation. We
Well-
didn't say it was a once in a generation. We just said a consensus top
Like
guy.
a Matt Stafford, for example.
There you go.
No one thought he was a once in a generation talent,
But
like
he
an
was a
Andrew Luck.
consensus-
But he was a consensus one.
Stafford was better in college than Carson Beck has proven.
100%.
Oh,
But I'm just saying.
1,000%.
Yeah, so like that changes the calculus because if
But that was the hypothetical that we posed to you.
you say Carson Beck,
We said if he is the
You don't get to roll your eyes.
unanimous
You said-
top.
I did not say Carson Beck. I said we go and there's a definitive one, universal across the league. Like
look, I think we got the answer. I mean,
you're
y'all know what
right.
y'all are saying,
Got it. We
like-
got it. We got it.
It's funny though because this is the same guy who actually had
No, that's good.
a rush of clarity and texted us the other day. The hashtag agenda should be let's not completely fuck up this guy's career because he could actually be something.
yes,
I think we all agree on that.
I still
I think
agree
we all
with
agree
that.
on that.
Still agree. With
Okay.
that.
I'll go on the record and say if I'm in that situation and there's the unanimous top guy, I am taking him
Me
at
too.
number one. But
Because until you know you have a
Until you
quarterback,
know,
you
you
don't
don't.
have a team. So I'm doing it just out of that, not out of disrespect at a Rattler.
Yeah.
I am super excited about what we got picking a guy there at that position. That's a home
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
There, even as it stands today, it's a home run. So I'm a fan. I want to see him do great. I don't want to see us push him too quickly. I want him to develop. That's why he was drafted where he was drafted. Let's see that course. I think it's great. If we had the number one pick, I'm drafting another quarterback and say, look, Rattler, prove us wrong. Come out and Kirk Cousins, RG3. Let's see it. And I have no problem if he beats him out. Zero. Let's roll. Let's have some competition and see if he can do it.
agree completely. So let's move on to running back.
Okay, let's do it.
Nick, how do you feel about the running back room?
I hate it.
That's the exact notes I have right here. Is I hate this room after AK.
Yeah.
I like AK. I don't think he's what he was. Obviously, I mean, he's about to be 29 years old.
He's 29 already, I think.
He's still a solid starter. I don't think he's elite anymore.
I don't think it's all in how you define starter. I think he is a starter in a two-back system. He is not a one, as in the bona fide one,
Yeah,
CMC,
he's not
that top 10 type of category.
He's not a workhorse.
Right. He's not that.
Well, he
I
was
love
never
him.
a workhorse, but
Right.
I love him. Like, I hope he can play 3-4 more years in some role here. I hope that all works out. I hope he gets enough build up in his stats to make the Hall of Fame because I feel like he was a Hall of Fame player for 5 or 6 years.
and we wasted
without
the
a doubt.
last few.
Yeah,
so.
we did. And it wasn't the best role for him in the current, not having Drew, and he had to be more of a runner and less of a dynamic receiver, less creativity for sure. But to have the second highest paid running back producing the way AK does, that's bad. Jamal Williams is, I think, a top 15 paid running back in the league. That's horrendous. Kendrick can't
Is he
see the
top
field.
15?
Yeah, I sent it to you today. What was it? Where was he? Was on the list. I sent
It's
you the
too
top
much.
18. Look it up. He's in the top 18 for sure. I thought it was like 15, 16. So to spend that type of money on that room for what you have, I think is really, really rough. I don't see anything that changes that other than Kendre being able to miraculously be a healthy running back and provide a break for AK. And then you move Jamal to kind of that old Mike Bell try and run the clock out type of back.
Yeah.
3 yards at a time.
At least Mike Bell was younger with some oomph.
True.
I don't see unless Jamal was actually really hurt last year. I don't.
I'm gonna tell you, I was
Yeah.
excited when we signed him last year. Y'all
We
know
all
that.
were. We all were,
That
but-
looked like AK a year younger.
I thought
He
it
was
was
a year younger.
kind of a low hanging fruit of a comparison or metaphor, which DA this is a metaphor. That Max had concrete Nikes. I was like, that's easy. That's low hanging fruit. But then I watched him run. Not last year, this year in the preseason. Even when he had blocking in the
He has
daylight,
no burst.
and it looked. It was like
but-
I was like
Dude,
David
it's
Max,
bad.
the concrete
But
Nikes.
in
That was-
Detroit, he was a great short yardage back. Tons of touchdowns inside the 5.
so
Yeah.
strange.
and that
like-
was gone.
And look, they plugged Montgomery in, and he did the same thing.
Right.
The same exact thing.
Yeah.
So no, I agree. The room to me is absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And I would not at all be shocked if the entire room is different for the 2025
well,
season.
I think the fact,
Like market in stone, we are drafting a running back in either the second or third round next year. I promise you.
yeah, like when we have the number 1 overall pick and we decide not to take the consensus number 1 overall guy, trade it back for 2 first-round picks and use one on a running back. But besides,
God, you're about to get
besides the
triggered.
point, besides the point, no, I agree.
That would have been a better answer, but
We're still recording. We're still recording. It's part of the answer. It's extended. We're not one. We're
That
not.
would have been the more prudent move.
Okay, whatever. The running
beat
back
that
room.
You know we had some curveballs for you. Come on.
I do know this, and our now viewers know this.
I mean, how do you feel about the room?
I look. I like AK.